The ancient forest demon, India's most terrifying legend from the past. Welcome to Tales Labyrinth, where ancient mysteries come alive through the power of storytelling. Today's journey takes us deep into the heart of India's most haunting legend, the ancient forest demon. I invite you to support our channel and follow this spine-chilling tale to its dramatic conclusion, where truth and legend merge in the shadows of time. First, the Whispering Depths. Deep within the ancient forests of India, where sacred banyan trees stretched their gnarled branches toward heaven, lived communities that understood the delicate balance between civilization and wilderness. These dense woodlands, older than memory itself, harbored secrets that village elders whispered about only in hushed tones during the darkest nights of the monsoon season. The forest floor, carpeted with centuries of fallen leaves, concealed pathways known only to the most experienced hunters and holy men. Ancient stone markers, carved with Sanskrit symbols and weathered by countless seasons, served as warnings to travelers about the deeper regions where few dared to venture. These sacred boundaries marked territories where the natural world gave way to something far more sinister. Village women, adorned in vibrant saris and carrying brass water vessels, would gather at the forest's edge each dawn to collect medicinal herbs and offerings for temple rituals. Their conversations always carried undertones of caution, speaking of paths that should never be taken and sounds that should never be followed, no matter how alluring they might seem to wandering souls. The architecture of nearby settlements reflected this reverence for forest spirits, with homes built on raised platforms and doorways facing away from the deepest parts of the woodland. Traditional mud walls were decorated with protective symbols, while copper bells hung from wooden eaves, their gentle chiming believed to ward off malevolent entities that emerged when daylight faded completely. Local priests, dressed in simple white dhotis and marked with sacred ash, regularly performed purification ceremonies at the forest's border. They understood that some hungers could never be satisfied, some thirsts could never be quenched, and some ancient beings viewed human flesh as the most precious offering the mortal world could provide to their eternal darkness. Second, the first vanishing. Young Arjun was known throughout his village for his skill with bow and arrow, his ability to track deer through the densest undergrowth, and his fearless nature that often concerned the elder hunters. Dressed in simple cotton garments and leather sandals, he carried his grandfather's carved wooden bow and a quiver filled with iron-tipped arrows that had never failed to find their mark. On the morning of his disappearance, Arjun departed before sunrise, following fresh deer tracks that led deeper into the forest than any hunter had ventured in recent memory. His wife, pregnant with their first child, watched from their thatched roof dwelling as he disappeared into the misty depths, unaware that she would never see him return alive. The tracks he followed seemed unusually clear, almost deliberately placed to guide him along a specific path that wound between ancient trees whose trunks were so massive that 10 men could not encircle them with outstretched arms. These giants had witnessed the rise and fall of kingdoms, the passage of countless generations, yet none had seen anything quite like what lurked in their shadows. As the sun reached its zenith, village children playing near the forest's edge reported hearing a distant cry that seemed to echo from multiple directions simultaneously. The sound was unmistakably Arjun's voice, yet there was something wrong with its tone. Something that made the children run home to their mothers without looking back. When darkness fell and Arjun had not returned, search parties were organized using torches made from cloth soaked in mustard oil and wrapped around bamboo poles. The villagers, wearing thick cotton shawls and carrying ritual protection charms, ventured into the woodland calling his name until their voices grew hoarse and their courage began to falter. Third, the village's growing fear. The search for Arjun continued for 7 days, led by village headman Vishnu, who wore traditional white kurta and turban while carrying an ancient bronze lantern passed down through generations of leaders. Each day brought fewer volunteers as stories spread of strange sounds echoing through the trees and glimpses of movement that seemed to defy natural explanation. On the 8th day, young Kamala, daughter of the village potter, claimed she saw Arjun standing motionless at the forest's edge just before dawn. She described his appearance in disturbing detail, his clothing torn and stained, his skin pale as moonlight, and his eyes reflecting an unnatural gleam that made her blood run cold with primitive terror. The village priest, an elderly man named Gautama, who had served the community for over 40 years, consulted ancient palm leaf manuscripts stored in the temple's stone chambers. These sacred texts, written in Sanskrit by long-dead scholars, contained references to entities that could assume human form and lure the living into realms where death was not an ending but a beginning. Fear began to permeate daily life as families started retiring to their homes before sunset, securing wooden doors with iron bars and burning protective herbs throughout the night. Children were forbidden from playing near the forest's edge, while women traveled in groups when gathering water from streams that flowed from the woodland's mysterious depths. Traditional evening gatherings around communal fires became tense affairs where conversations focused on protective rituals and ancient warnings. Elderly villagers recalled similar disappearances from their childhood, stories their own grandparents had shared about times when the forest claimed souls and returned only hollow shells bearing familiar faces but harboring something infinitely hungry and utterly alien. Fourth, the hunter's encounter. Experienced tracker Madhav, a weathered man in his 50s who wore leather armor and carried weapons blessed by multiple priests, volunteered to venture deeper into the forest than anyone had dared since Arjun's disappearance. His reputation for courage was matched only by his knowledge of woodland survival, making him the village's best hope for uncovering the truth. Armed with a steel-tipped spear, a curved hunting knife, and a pouch of sacred salt that had been consecrated during the full moon, Madhav entered the forest at dawn on the anniversary of Arjun's vanishing. He followed the same path the young hunter had taken, noting disturbing changes in the forest's atmosphere that suggested something unnatural had taken residence. The trees seemed to whisper in voices that almost resembled human speech, while shadows moved independently of their sources in ways that violated the natural order. Madhav's trained senses detected the presence of something watching him from the canopy above, something that possessed intelligence far beyond any creature that should inhabit these ancient woods. As afternoon approached, Madhav discovered a clearing he had never seen before, despite decades of hunting in these forests. In the center stood a circle of standing stones covered in carvings that hurt to look at directly, while the ground within was stained dark with substances that had long since dried but still emanated a metallic scent. There, sitting cross-legged in the center of this unholy circle, was Arjun. His appearance was exactly as Kamala had described, but worse up close, his skin had taken on a translucent quality that revealed dark veins beneath, and his smile contained too many teeth that were far too sharp for any human mouth to contain safely. Fifth, the ancient truth revealed. Arjun spoke in a voice that carried harmonics of wind through dead branches, explaining that he had been chosen to serve something far older than human civilization, an entity that had dwelled in these forests since before the first villages were established. This being fed on more than flesh, it consumed memories, experiences, and the very essence that made humans unique among living creatures. The creature wearing Arjun's form described how it had been selecting victims for millennia, always choosing those who ventured too deep into its domain, with hearts full of confidence and minds unprepared for the reality of cosmic hunger. Each victim became a vessel, a puppet that could walk among the living while serving purposes beyond mortal comprehension. Madhav realized that the disappearances throughout history were not random events but calculated selections performed by an intelligence that viewed humans as farmers might view cattle. The entity had been patient, taking only what it needed to maintain its strength while avoiding the attention that might bring organized resistance from the outside world. The standing stones, Arjun explained with his unnaturally wide smile, served as anchors that bound the creature to this realm, preventing it from spreading beyond the forest's boundaries while ensuring its continued existence. These monuments had been erected by the entity's first human servants thousands of years ago, when ancient kingdoms still respected forces beyond their understanding. As darkness began to fall, Madhav understood that he would not be leaving the clearing alive in any form that could be called human. The last sound he heard before his transformation began was the creature's laughter echoing from every direction simultaneously, a sound like wind through hollow bones that would soon emerge from his own throat as he returned to the village. The legend of the ancient forest demon serves as a haunting reminder of the mysteries that still lurk in the deepest corners of our world, where ancient powers continue to shape reality according to rules we can barely comprehend. This tale, from India's rich folklore tradition, reveals not only the fears of our ancestors, but their profound respect for forces beyond human understanding. Thank you for joining Tales Labyrinth on this journey into the supernatural heritage of ancient India. If this story captivated your imagination, please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to our channel for more explorations into the world's most fascinating legends and mysteries. Until our paths cross again in the labyrinth of tales, remember that some doors should remain closed and some paths should never be taken.